So the first thing you want is coconut oil. The next is extra virgin olive oil, ginger, any kind of ginger, organic or not, depends on what you like. Himalayan pink sea salt, which I get at Costco. Costco's organic, no salt seasoning, which is really good. Garlic powder, and Italian seasoning. And then I just get the chicken tenderloins from Costco. They're already cut up, and I cut them up more in cooking, which you'll see in a bit. So you really just need a large spoonful of the coconut oil. That looks good. If you do a bigger pan of it, then you can get more of it. And then I just drizzle the olive oil in. Since I make a whole pan of chicken, that's about how much I use. So this is what our pot looks like, our pan. I put the chicken in frozen. The coconut oil will melt down once we start cooking it. Move it over there. About 2 to 3 tenderloins is a meal for one person. We usually make a bunch so that we can have lunches and stuff like that. You can put more in there if you're making for more people. It'll all cook down eventually together in the oil. That looks good. So then the next thing I do is I pour the seasonings on. Start with the organic no salt seasoning. I'm very generous with the seasonings. And the way they kind of cook with the oil too, it all makes it really, really flavorful. Next thing I'll do is the garlic. Again, pretty generous. And ginger. Coconut oil with ginger on any kind of meat, chicken, turkey, pork. It's very, very good. I'm very generous with the ginger also. Sometimes it's a little hard to shake on. Next thing we want to do is Italian seasoning. Okay. And then we want our pink Himalayan sea salt, which comes in this grinder. I'm going to set this down and grind it up. So then the pink Himalayan sea salt's all nice and ground up in the cap here. And I just sprinkle it on. Okay. And we're ready to cook. I cook it on high heat. The coconut oil will melt down into the pan. And then it'll all start bubbling because the spice is mixed with the oils on the bottom. Once it starts bubbling, I kind of just let it sit there for about a minute, and then I turn all the chicken over, and then I keep turning it over every couple minutes, and then I'll take the spatula and I'll actually cut it up in the pan with the plastic spatula. And then I kind of just let it keep bubbling around the chicken, and the spices and the oil kind of make the chicken have a little bit of a fried texture, but of course a very healthy fried texture. So I will turn the video back on when I get to that point. So as you can see, it's starting to bubble around. I'm just going to let it sit there for a minute, and then I will start flipping it over. I'll just use a regular spatula, and I'll kind of check on it, kind of just move it around while it's bubbling. Get it all nice and even. For some reason my hands like to be hotter over here. I'm always kind of stirring it around. You can just kind of find out where it's being, the most heat will be where this kind of like foamy bubbling will be. And I just turn that piece over. Start turning them over. Kind of like searing on both sides. And then just letting it cook through a little bit more. And then flip again, and then flip again. I only season the top. You don't really need to season both sides because there's so much seasoning in there. Good. And like I said, that one side gets a little warm over there, so I kind of just stir it around so that everyone gets a chance over where it's hotter. And you can just look for that. Might differ by stove, depending on how it is. And then as it cooks down too, because it was frozen, the water's going to get in there a little bit, so it'll actually get more liquidy on the bottom. So we're ready to flip again. I'll turn the camera back on. Nice and frothy, bubbly. The oil's brown on the edges, as you can see, and that's a good indication that the chicken is flipped over. So I'll go ahead and start doing that. Okay, so we're all flipped over. As you can see, the seasoning kind of stayed on intact on the top, which we want, which is good. It almost makes its own like breading kind of texture when you're eating it. It's actually very, very good. So I will be flipping it a couple more times, and before I start cutting it with this spatula. You don't need a knife at all. It makes it really easy, and it's kind of an alternative to a chicken nugget. So it kind of tastes like a chicken nugget, but it's not fried, and then of course it's healthy. Okay, so I flipped a couple more times. I'm going to start cutting. Basically what I do is I just take my spatula. It should just fall apart. Pretty easy, except for when there's like little thingies. I guess there's cartilage and whatnot. And you can see too, like in the middle of this chicken breast, it's still a little bit raw inside, but that's fine. When you start cutting it, you're actually going to be letting it cook more, so it doesn't matter. Okay, I'm going to cut the rest of this up with 2 hands, and I will be back when it's all cut up. Okay, so to be fair, because it wasn't doing it very well, to cut the chicken up, get it to focus in here. There we go. It should be pretty simple. You can just play with it as it cooks, and it falls apart pretty easy, and cuts apart pretty easy. So as you can see, it's pretty cutting up pretty easy, and it comes apart really fast, and it's cooking all at the same time. And by the time you're cutting that up, it should be near done. You can stir it up in the oil, give it a last minute or so, and it's good to go. See how it looks crusted? And it is, in the oil and the coconut oil and all the seasoning, and it's really good. Very good texture, very good flavor, and it's great over a salad or rice, which is what we'll usually do, either or. Sometimes I'll make a chicken sandwich out of it for Chris. So you could do a number of things, or you can just eat it like it is. Kind of like a chicken nugget. I've turned the fire off now, and it's just kind of last minute while it's still hot. I kind of just stir it around, let it pick up all of the spices that are in the oil left over, let it cook its last few seconds, and then it's good to go. Like I said, my favorite is having it over salad with a little bit of Greek feta dressing, and over some brown rice with a little bit of butter and sea salt. Is good also. And or you can throw it over bread with some a little bit of olive oil on the bread, and it's a good hoagie as well with some veggies. So this is our chicken. This is how we do it. Enjoy!